Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first Google Tools EdTech 101 session. So my name is Ben Moore, and I'm an associate teacher, lettings and health and safety coordinator from New Rickstone Academy. I'm also one of the team of lead innovators at Academy's Enterprise Trust. So thanks so much for joining us today, and we're going to be looking today at Google Classroom. So we've actually designed these sessions to support you as part of the Lee Forest and AET EdTech Demonstrator Programme. And we really hope this session will cover all that you need to get started with Google Classroom in your school. So if you're watching live, please introduce yourself in the chat on the right-hand side of this video and share where you're from and what stage, what stage you work in. And post any questions you may have, and we'll do our best to answer as many of these as possible as we go through. So in this session, we're going to focus on Google Classroom, and this is really one of my favorite Google tools for many reasons. I'm going to show you a few of those reasons in just a second. So I'm just going to try and make my screen a little bit bigger here. There we go. Okay, so this was my slide about me, but I've already told you who I am and what I do. But I do work for New Rickstones and Maltings Academy, which is all housed from the Academy's Enterprise Trust, and part of the innovators team, delivering these demos live to you guys now. So I won't bore you with any more about me. So we're going to have a look at Google Classroom today, and there's a few ways we can get to this to start with. So if you want to open up a new tab alongside this and do it alongside me, please feel free to do so. It'd be great to see some of you doing some of this alongside us. So if you haven't gone to Google Classroom at all before, there's two really quick ways you can get to it. So you can either use classroom.google.com in your search box or Omnibox, which I'll show you in just a second, or you can go to your waffle, which you'll find next to your profile picture up here in the top right hand corner, and you can find Classroom. So I'm just going to show you how to do that now. So I'll just go to a Google Slides. This is what you may have up in front of you right now. So you do have the option to go to your waffle over here, which is next to my profile picture. I can find Classroom, and if it's not here for you, don't worry, you can scroll down, find your logo, and the best bit about this menu is, although it's not directly related to Classroom, I think it's good to put it in here. You can drag these icons around. You can actually move these around in any order you want to make them easily accessible for you. So if you want Classroom right at the top, you can put Classroom right at the top. So just a little plug there for that. But you can actually click on Classroom there, which will take you to your home page. Or you can use the Omnibox or the search box, which is this little box at the top next to your forward and back arrow, and just type in classroom.google, if I can spell it, .com. And what's really good about this is once you've done it a few times, your computer will realize, and all you have to do is actually type in classroom, class, and it will actually pick up this top thing here. So you won't even need to type all the words once you've done it a few times. So I'm going to use the Omnibox way because that's the way I really like to get to Classroom. And that will take us to our home screen, or our dashboard as you like. Okay, so this is where you're going to see all of your classes listed. And this is where we're going to see assignments due for each class. And again, what's really nice about this is once you get a lot of classes, like a lot of you will probably do at some point, you can actually drag and drop these as well. So for the purpose of this demo, this is my Google Trainer account. So I haven't got all of my classes on here, but in my school account, I have the best part of maybe 25, 30 classes. So, I'm not teaching all those classes, I'm just part of them to help. So dragging them around to suit is really helpful. So it's simply just by clicking on and dragging around. So again, another little thing you can do just to make things a little bit easier on your side once you get everything set up. So the first thing that you want to do in here, you may not have set this up before, this will be your first time going in. So you will need to go into Google Classroom. We'll ask you to sign in with your Google account, which you should have. And then what it's going to say, it's going to ask you whether you're a teacher or a student. So you as educators would be a teacher, so you need to select the teacher mode. And the reason it's really important to select the teacher mode is when we go to create classes, you're going to go to this plus icon on the top right hand side. Now, if you don't set yourself up as a teacher, you won't have this option to create class. Now, your admin can reset this if you do it by mistake. It's not a problem. Don't fear. If you've done it wrong, made a mistake, it's not the end of the world. You can get it changed. But that's why it's really important to click teacher, so you can actually create a class here as well, not just join. Because as a student, you can only join for obvious reasons. Okay, so as a teacher, I'm going to create my first class. Now, you might want to create classes for a number of different things. It might be a tutor class, or it might be a class for your head of, for your subject. You might want to do a resource base for your teachers all in one place. You might want to have it for all your timetable lessons for your students, so they all have an online effective resource base and place to work from. So lots of different ways you can use Classroom, and there's more ways than just that. That's just a few as an example. So you can use Classroom for a lot of different things, and what's really nice as well, you can use it with teachers as well. You can set it up to do staff training, for example. If you're collecting, as a school, if you're just starting out in G Suite, and some of you, are really thriving and doing some fantastic things, make some videos. You can put them in Classroom and share them with other members of staff, and they can watch them. So it can act as a resource hub for lots of different things. So in this instance, I'm going to create a Google Classroom just for a normal class scenario. So this is what we're going to do as in normal times. So I'm going to click the plus button up here and go create class. Now, once I click create class, it's going to ask me for a class name. So at this point, you call this whatever you may want to call it. So I'm going to call it the Innovators EdTech Demo. And then you've got a few other boxes here like section, subject, and room. So feel free to fill these in if you want to. You don't have to by any means. And you can also go back and change them at a later point. But this is just, this is a way you can customize and personalize your classroom. So I might want to put in here just EdTech Demo. And I can put in my room number as well if I wanted to. And once I'm done, just click create. And what we will do then, it will take about 30 seconds or so. It's just creating all the background elements of your new classroom, so your virtual classroom in effect. So once this loads up, we're going to have a quick look at the navigation of the page, looking at what sort of cool stuff we can see in there, do a few of the basic things, and then we'll move on to some stuff to get you guys excited for future things and where you can take your class and your students with Google Classroom. So as you see, I load straight into my Google Classroom here. So it will take you straight in, but there's an easy way to get back. Just go to your hamburger menu up here or your pancake stack. Lots of people call it different things. I always go with a food reference. That's just how I remember, but you can call it whatever you want. And you can just click this classes at the top, and that will take you back to your home screen, okay? Just if you want to create more, more classes. But we're going to go into this classroom and just take a little tour of what's on the screen and how to add our students in. So this first page here, we can see we're on the stream, okay? So think of the stream as your virtual notice board or your message board, all right? So where you post important information to your students or links to your students or have discussions with your students about an open subject. So this is, in effect, your virtual message board is how I think of it, all right? And you can set this up so you can post, your students can post, or, have all of you posting at the same time if you want to. So different things you can do there, but it depends on the purpose of your classroom. Next thing I want to show you is the Classwork page. So the Classwork page is where you would post all of your work or assignments or information to your students. So at the moment this is empty because we've just started a new classroom, but we will take a look at how to really quickly create an assignment and just get you started getting the basics on for your students, all right? You'll notice we've got some other buttons up here as well. So you'll notice I've got a Meet button, which is a lot of us would have used Google Meet before, but effectively will take us to a unique Meet for our Google Classroom. And by creating the Google Classroom, we also get a Google Calendar for each and every classroom we create, and that's automatically added to your Google Calendar. So it just shows all the assignments due and when they're due for students and yourself as well, to keep a track on when you set these assignments as well. And you also get a Google Drive folder for this particular class in your Google Drive, automatically created, and you don't need to do anything with that. That will house all of your templates, it will house all of the student work and that sort of thing. So it's really important not to delete that folder, because Google Classroom automatically creates a Classroom folder, and there has been some people to delete it in the past, and that's had a few problems with pulling the templates and everything through and losing work. So if you take anything away from today's session, please, please, please do not delete that Classroom folder in your Drive, all right? So yeah, you'll have a Google Calendar and a Drive folder for each one of your Google Classrooms, and that can all be found in Google Drive, but we're not focusing on that today. Today we're looking at Google Classroom. So we're going to create an assignment together. we're going to have a look at the different options we've got, and this will tie in with a little bit I'm going to do later to show you the possibilities of Classroom as well once you get all set up and you've found your feet and you want to be adventurous. So we're going to click this big create button up here, all right? And you're going to have a few different options. So the first one being assignment, which will be a usual task. Maybe you want to add in a Google Docs, which is in effect a Microsoft Word document, or Google Slides, which is in effect a PowerPoint, or Google Sheets, Excel, that sort of thing. So you can add assignments and your attachments onto this from this assignment box. And you can, we'll have a look at, we'll actually create an assignment in a minute, but you've got all sorts of options in there. But what's the difference with a quiz assignment, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you did, and I'm going to answer it. So quiz assignment is in effect looking at, oh, sorry, just had someone come out there. So a quiz assignment in effect is a Google Forms. So you create an assignment which you're going to mark your students on. So it might be a self-marking quiz, for example. It might be a formative or end-of-term assessment, for example. So you could use a quiz assignment for these options, and maybe not even for assessments. You might just want to have a fun quiz with your students, about something you've learned recently or done in the classroom. So you can really spice things up by using the quiz assignment, and a load of different things you can do with that, gamifying your classroom as well. So some really, really positive opportunities there with quiz assignments. We've also got the option to add questions in, so discussion forums in effect for our students. They can post comments back as a class, or they can post comments to you privately. And it's a great way to spark discussion in your classroom, well, virtually, obviously, in Google Classroom, but you could put it on your board in your classroom, for example, as well, and have a class discussion about it. It's a really cool way to track all your pros and have everything in one neat place for you to find it. Next, you've got material, and material in effect would be your PDF documents or useful links for students, or maybe you've got a really cool hyperdoc or a really cool PowerPoint that's got some really nice information for your students. This would be the place to post it. It's not being marked, it's just there, so they've got access to this resource whenever they need it. So using a material is great for that. Next box down, we've got reusing posts. So reusing posts won't come in handy right now because this is our only classroom at the moment, but it's all about saving you time as educators, and we know how precious time is in the education industry. We don't get a lot of it most of the time to do quite big tasks. So reusing posts and not having to reinvent the wheel every time is fantastic. So the idea behind it, and I'll show you this again later on, is looking at, once you've created a post once for students or in staff or in another classroom elsewhere in Google Classroom, when you create a new classroom or you want to reuse that particular assignment because you thought, that assignment about world music was great with my year 7s last year, I really want to use it again this year, for example, you can go through and click reuse post, and you can actually search back all of your old classrooms and all the assignments that are there and basically just pull it all through to your new classroom. So you don't need to redo the thing again, rewrite everything out. You can automatically do it through this reuse post. And I'll do a little demo of that a little bit later on, but I'm conscious I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff straight away. So the last one here is topic. So think of this as maybe a folder. So if I was to create a topic, which I'd always recommend doing, it's nice to break down things for our students so they can see maybe unit 1's in all under this label, unit 2 all under this label, for example. So I like to have topics in there just to separate it out for my students, and they can easily see where things are, and I find it's really organised for them. So definitely add in a topic. And I'm going to do that first, actually, just whilst we're here. So I'm just going to put in here, let's use world music as an example, as I was talking about it a little bit earlier on. So I'll put in topic world music and just click add there. And what that'll do is that will act as my first sub-label or first topic label, as it were. So you'll see that then appears at the top here. And once we create some work, you'll see it all list underneath. And if you've got more than one of these, as we do with all Google tools, you can drag and drop them around and reorder them as you want to. If unit 1 was last half term and unit 2 is this half term, drag and drop them so the newest one's always at the top. So some really, that's what I love about Google. You don't have to go into all the settings to do something really simple. You just drag and drop, and it's all there for you and ready to go straight away, and updates for all your students immediately as well, which is always a bonus. So now we've had a quick look at this classwork, we're going to Take a look at these last 2 pages, then we'll create a assignment, and you can see how that works in here as well. So the People tab, this is where you will find all of your students and all of your co-teachers. So you can see at the moment this is empty because it's a new classroom, and there's a number of different ways you can get your students to join these classes, and teachers as well even. So what you can do is you can come to the People tab as you know, in the first instance, and you can click Add next to teachers or students. So in this instance, I'm just going to add in a student, and he'll ask me to type their name or email address. So being this is my training domain, I'm just going to type in the email address for that user. And you see once I type it in, it highlights them. So that's now, I've selected that student, it's verified that they exist, and I can just click invite. And what that will do is that will send them an email notification to say you've been invited to this Google Classroom, and they'll ask them to accept or decline the offer. So that's one way you could do it. Alternatively, if you wanted to, if we hop back to the stream page, you'll see I've got a class code on this banner here. And at the moment, that's quite small. But what you can do is click on this little box on the right-hand side, and it will pop it up into a bigger window. And you can give this code to your students. And where we created that class initially using that little plus icon on our home screen, they will click join class and add in this code here, and they'll join directly into the classroom. So it saves you a little bit of time if you're in a real classroom. If it's virtual, you might want to email this code to your students and ask them to join using this code as well. Or as I say, you can invite them by typing all their emails directly, so you know for yourself that they are definitely all been invited. So whatever way works for you, really. There's no right or wrong way. It's however you as educators or as teachers want to do this. So this is all about showing you different ways. Please don't feel compelled to do anything in a particular way. This is very open. You can do as you need to. So I've now invited this user, and I can see here that they've been invited. They haven't yet accepted. So it shows me they've got that invited icon. So once they join and accept, their name will become, won't be grayed out anymore, and we'll get rid of that invited icon there. And what you can actually do is you can add your TAs or your co-teachers, head of department, SLT link if you need to. You can add all those into your classroom as well by adding in teachers here. So you can type in other email addresses. So I'm just going to add in, an admin account, for example. And it does the same thing as the students. You can see whether they've accepted the invite or not because it shows you the invited icon there. All right. So that's just to show you how to add people into your classroom. And once they're in, they'll see all of the content within your room as well. Okay. So last page on here, as it were, was the marks book. And at the moment, this is empty because I've got no assignments, and before now I had no students here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a grade book from another Google Classroom, just to show you what this page will look like once you've got, once you've got some students and once you've got some assignments in there, just so you can see how powerful this tool will be once you get up and running. So I'm just going to go into another classroom I've got here just to show you that now. So as you can see here, I've clicked on my marks book at the top. And this is the sort of thing you'd get once your classroom is populated with your students and your tasks. So you get all your students on the left-hand side here. So obviously I can see I've got user 1 and user 3. And I can also see all of my tasks at the top and whether the students have handed in or not and their marks. And you can actually update this from here as well. So all of your marks can run one place rather than having to write everything down like we used to and transfer it from one sheet to another sheet and everything else. This is a really neat way to tidy that all into one, have it all nice and compact. So we can actually update things from here if we want to, just an example. And we can see all of their lessons and due dates and all that sort of cool stuff here as well. So I don't want to get too tangled up with that right now because I'm aware that you're new to this program and you won't have a lot of stuff in here just now. That's just to show you what it will look like once you've got some information in there for you to use. All right. So let's have a look at creating this first assignment, and let's look at some of this stuff. How we actually push something out to our students. What's that going to look like? So we're going to go back to our Classwork page, which is where all of the classwork is going to be held for our students, and it's worth worth telling them, I think, as well, that when they come to Google Classroom, always go to the Classwork tab to find the work. Google Classroom does set up to show it on the screen sometimes as well, which is something you can change at a later stage. But I'd always recommend students to always come to the Classwork page to make sure they can see everything in chronological order and as you set it out, because the stream doesn't quite show you the same view. So just to give you the heads up there, all right? So we're going to create our first assignment. So we're going to go to create an assignment, which will give us a nice little pop-up window like this, and will give us the ability to add lots of cool stuff for our students. So the first thing it's going to ask is for a title. So what is the name of your task? So I'm just going to put in here world music poster, and I can give them some instructions if I want to. I'm just going to put in here, please open the attachment, and number 2, hand in to me when complete, just so I don't waste much time here. All right, so I've put some instructions in there, giving it a title, all that sort of cool stuff that we need to do. I haven't spelled attachment right either. You can tell it's a Wednesday afternoon, nice and hot Thursday afternoon. There you go. That shows, doesn't it, really? So I've got my instructions in here now, and I've got the option to add and create down here. So what does that mean? Great. So we can actually click on add here, just by clicking on it there. And we have the option here to upload things from Google Drive, from a website link, a file from your computer, so it may be in your downloads or another location stored on your computer, or a YouTube link as well. So you can add files that you've already created from here very easily. So I'm just going to add something from Google Drive, and I don't think I've got anything about world music on this account, but I'm just going to add a file for example. So let's just add in this Google Slides for Dad Joke Central. It's another training session I did. We won't go into that. But I'll, you can see there it's loaded in for me. And the first thing I see over here is I've got a box that's saying students can view the file. And this is really important actually to look at in a little bit of detail here. You have this drop down box and you have 3 options. So the first one being students can view the file. So they'll be able to open this file you give them, but make no changes to it, which might be good in some instances if you're giving them a resource. But in other instances, you may want them to open the attachment, fill in their information, and do be creative. Open them up, give them free reign of their education, let them do their own thing and be creative. So you might want them to edit the file, which is the next box down. So you can select that if you want to. But it's worth noting, if you click here, students can edit the file. Everybody in your classroom, so all, if you've got 30 students, for example, all 30 students will be editing the same file. So if a student was to put something on that file, put their name and a picture of them, other students can go in and they can change that if they want to. So this is good for collaboration tasks. If you've got a group, group 1 working on African music and group 2 working on Peruvian music, for example, but not so great if you're asking them to do individualized work that you'd like to see what they've done. So that's when we get to the next section of make a copy for each student. So in this instance, I'm going to make a copy for each student. I want every student to have their own copy of this, and we don't need to do any more from here. Google Classroom will, I've made this initial copy. This is mine from my Google Drive, but Google Drive will now make a copy for every single student without me doing anything. So again, saving you time, in the education field, which is always a bonus. So every time a student will open this, they will actually, they all have their own copy of it, exactly the same as what you've given them, and they can modify it as and when they need to, But what's important to notice here, if you don't click this box the first time and you assign put your task on there for all students to see, and you forget to make it a copy for each student, you can't go back and change that. That's something that I know Google are working on, but they haven't got it yet. So you would need to get rid of the assignment by deleting it and going back and doing it again. But I'm sure you guys won't do that because you've watched this video. So you're going to have that knowledge now. So we've got make a copy for each student. And then on the right-hand side, we have some boxes over here as well. So the first one asks me for. So I've got the option to post to one classroom or multiple classrooms at the same time. So this might come in handy if you guys are posting, maybe you're doing the same topics. If you're a maths teacher, you might be doing the same topic with your 2 or 3 Year 7 classes, and you want to post it to all 3 Year 7 classes at the same time. Brilliant, why not? Let's do it, save yourself time again. And the other option, which you can't do if you've got more than one class selected, is you can actually select particular students to get this assignment. So where this might come in handy, for example, is if you've got students that are maybe higher ability. You've given a task to all of your students, and you've got a student that's really, really capable, and you want to give them an extension task. But if you give it to everybody, they might have a little bit of a freak, like, oh, sir, I can't do this. You don't need to worry. You can actually assign these particular assignments to particular students, which gives them opportunities to, improve. But nobody else will see they've got that opportunity, or not that opportunity. Sorry, that's the wrong wording. I think they've not been given. Only the student you've assigned it to would see that task. So the other students wouldn't worry saying, I've got another task to do, I can't access it. That's not visible. So you don't need to worry about other students, getting a little bit uptight about that. So you can select students there. You also got a points value. So you could decide that I'm going to give, if students complete, all 4 parts of this, I'm going to give them 20 points. And at the moment, that's probably seeming quite irrelevant to you. You're thinking, where does that really, what does that mean? Well, that links into your gradebook. So that marks tab we're looking at the top of our Google Classroom page just a little bit earlier on. That's where that all links into. So when we come to marking our students' work, all of their work will be marked out at 20. And we can go back and change this at a later point as well, which I'll show you to do in just a minute. Next box down, we've got due date. So you can pick a due date and time for each assignment to go to your students. So a time you'd expect it to be completed by. So it could be great for homework as well. You could say to students, right, it's Friday today. I'm going to give, Thursday today. I'm going to give you till next Thursday at, let's say our lesson is at 2 o'clock. So you've got till next Thursday there at 2 o'clock to complete the task. And that will become their due date, which will also tie into their Google Calendar, which they get access to. So again, you don't need to do anything here. That will automatically pull across for them. And you've also got the option here to assign it to a topic. So if you have no topic, it will just appear at the top of your Google Classroom. Maybe things like your attendance or your a tracker for your students might be at the top. But for this instance, we're going to have world music. And you also see you can create topics here as well if you haven't already made one in the previous page we looked at a minute ago. And then we have rubrics and originality, but that's really some more advanced stuff, which I don't really want to get too involved with right now. But just as an overview, it's just a way of grading students on particular aspects of their work really easily. So we'll do that. We'll do that a little bit later on in another session. And I'm just seeing all these fantastic comments coming through. I will go through these at the end. So if you've got any, just drop them all in. And if I don't answer them in this session, I'm happy to do, last 10 minutes going through and answering every single one of your questions the best I can. So keep them coming, guys. It's really good. All right. So now we've got our assignment set up here. We can actually assign it to our students. And actually, just before I go any further, I just forgot one thing actually. You've got this create button over here, which I didn't run through. And very quickly, if you just click create, if you haven't got maybe a attachment for this particular task, you can actually create a Google Docs, slides, sheets, drawings, and forms all directly from this assignment, which all saves in your Google Drive. So you don't need to worry if you haven't done it beforehand. You can actually create it directly from here. And students have the same option as well if they don't want to use your templates and stuff like that. So that's just a button I forgot to mention there. So now we've got our task is all set up as we want it. Now we're ready to assign to our students. So what you can do is you can click this big assign button if you want it to go live for them right now, which is absolutely fine. You can assign it and they'll see it a minute after you've posted it. Or you have a little drop down box on the right here, which gives you the option to schedule, or save draft, or discard draft. So you might say, oh, I'm halfway through this. I've got to run out because the kids are doing something just silly in the garden or whatever. You can save a draft, come back and edit it later on. Or alternatively, you can schedule. So this task, I might not want to go live to my students, for example, till Monday morning. And I can set a day and time that the students will then have access to this task. So I can click schedule and they'll only see it on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. So I'm just going to post it live for the time being. I don't need to schedule it, but it's just to show you that functionality is there as well. So once that assigns, it does take just a few seconds to pull through your settings and tie it up with everything else we've got here. You'll now see this appears under World Music. And you'll see when I click on it, it gives me the instructions, the task, and also how many students have handed it in and how many students have yet to hand it in. And obviously, because I haven't accepted that student invite yet, that won't appear. But but you can just see how nicely that pulls through and how it looks really nice on the classroom page here. And once you've got a few more things in there, like I'll just show you a classroom I've been doing recently for a demo. Once you've got a few more things in there, you can just see how nice that will then lay it out. You've got your topics in color, and you've got all your different assignments and tasks all split up underneath. And you can go into all of these and see all the instructions and all that sort of cool stuff as well. So once you've got all your classrooms set up, it's going to look really neat and tidy. It's a great place to house all these fantastic resources you're creating for your students. So that's really an overview to Google Classroom, I would have said. There's lots more functions available, and I'm just going to go back to my presentation, give you a little bit of a look at things you can do in the future. Once you've got your feet in the door, you're comfortable and got some things sorted out, there's some really cool stuff you can do as well. So this is where my presentation comes in, really. So we've got a to-do list in Google Classroom, and I'm going to give you guys, I'll try and at the end of this session maybe we'll drop it in the chat and you guys can have access to this presentation as well. So there's a to-do list in Google Classroom which allows you to see all the work you've got to mark as a teacher and review. So this keeps you nice on top of things in terms of your productivity and making sure you've got everything done when it needs to be done. So what you need to do is just go to the hamburger menu. You can call it pancake if you want to, but I've given it hamburger in the top left-hand corner here, and you'll see you've got the to-do list. I'm going to show you live in a second, and you can see all the outstanding work that needs to be reviewed. And you can actually filter this by class as well. So let's just quickly show you that. So I'll go to my hamburger menu up here and go to review here. So it can be to do or to review. It's up there. It can be either or. So as you can see here, I've got being this a demo classroom, demo account, you can see all these tasks I need to review. And I can see students have handed in this task and one student hasn't, for example. And I've got all these different things. But if you're working on a bigger scale, this might have a lot of information on depending on how many classes you've got. So what you can actually do is you can filter by classes by clicking on this little all classes button and actually filter by a particular classroom. So I can go in and see these are all the tasks I've got to review for this one classroom. Okay, and I've got little traffic lights over here, or the snowballs and the meatballs, meatball menu. You can just click this as mark as reviewed. So you've gone in, you've marked their work, and just click mark as reviewed, and it will disappear for you. I'm not going to do it all now, but you can just go off. It's almost like a tick off list to say, right, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Just keep you on top of the ball. Make sure you're doing. You haven't missed anything in effect. So that's a really neat feature I like in Google Classroom that helps me keep productive and keep on top of things. The next thing we've got is reusing posts, which is what I did mention earlier. So I will show you how to do that now very, very quickly. But it's just reusing one post from a classroom that's already existing into another one so you can make sure that, again, saving you time in the classroom. So we'll go back to that little list now. Go into our innovators classroom we've made together, and we'll go to classwork, create, and then we're going to go to reuse post. Just got my Mac charger on. Give me 1 second. There we go. Right, so you'll see now I have all of my classes on here. So this will show all of your Google Classrooms that you're a part of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this classroom because this has got a resource in that I'd like to reuse, and that will show me then all of the tasks or assignments I've posted in that Google Classroom. So I might decide I want to use this Music of China assignment, and what I'd do is I'd actually click create new copies of all attachments just to make sure that you keep everything clean and fresh when you go over into your new class. So this will create copies for you. Again, you don't need to do anything other than click that button and then click reuse. And what this will do is it will pull across all the information, so all your instructions, all your assignments, all the attachments, the name, and it even pulls through the topic from there as well. But I'm not going to use this topic here, and I'll show you how to get rid of that in just a second. But you can see it pulls everything through here. And what you can actually do is you can modify this if you want to change the instructions to suit this particular class, or add or take away a different assignment, attachment, sorry, and make it really personal. It doesn't affect the original post. So again, you can edit this to suit a particular class. If you're going to use this with year 8 rather than year 7, you might want to change the Kahoot quiz and make it a bit more difficult for them, just as an example. And you can do that in here without affecting the original. You have all the same things over here, like your points value, due date and time, and your topic. So I'm just going to go back to world music on that. And then again, click assign. So you can just see how easy that was to pull across a full assignment from another classroom. And now all of a sudden it's in this classroom with all the instructions ready for my students to use. So that was really quick and simple, a really nice way. Once you've done something once, that is the whole point. You do it once and you can use it again in other places really quite simply. Next thing I've got, which is probably more of an advanced feature, I suppose, but I think it's worth knowing. I probably won't show you this one, but it's great to know that it's there for you for future reference. But when you go to mark students' work in a teacher view, you can give them feedback by commenting back to them using private comments. So only that particular student you're commenting on will see it, and you can give them points, values, and give them some personalised feedback. But we all know feedback does take a long time, and Google Classroom has a way of automating that by going to our comment bank. So I will show you where the comment bank is live in just a second. But what you can do is you can actually add comments to bank. So I've got some pre-filled ones here, just for example. So I've got things like, great effort. I love the artist you put here. Who is your favourite? And you can put, all you have to do is just go in and copy these and paste them into your comment box, and then just personalise it for the student. So well done, and put their name in, for example. It just saves you a lot of time rather than tapping out the same thing over and over. You can actually go in and just copy these in a ready-made bank of comments for you to use. So I really like that. And if you've got lots in there as well, you can actually search for particular comments you want to use for students. So the more you use Google Classroom and the more classes you have, the more comments you'll have. And you can, you'll build up a huge bank over time, and you can just search for those really easily by clicking that little magnifying glass. So I'm going to show you where to find that comment bank. I'm not going to do a live demo of putting a comment in because I'm aware of we've got some fantastic questions to answer. But in effect, what you do is you come to your classroom classwork page here. You come across to, not that one, that's a Kahoot quiz, but come across to something that's a Google Slides, a Google Docs, Google Sheets, whatever it may be. And once you've got students in here, these numbers obviously update, but I haven't got any in here at the moment. But your students would update in there. And it's not going to let me do it in this classroom because I haven't got a student. Let me go into another one. Let's just find one on here that's it's a form. Right, let's just go on this here. Right, so you'll see once you have students in there, this will pre-fill a little bit better. It's probably a mistake on my part for not doing it in advance, but you can see here the students got their work. So you just click on the task and it will show you the students that have handed in, and not only that, if they haven't handed in, you can still see their live work as well. So you go in to click on their work, whether it's handed in or not handed in, it's completely fine. And you'll see this familiar thing we were looking at just a minute ago. So this is the first page you load into, which is where you give a mark and give your private comments. But this little box here is your comment bank. So you can see I've already added one in here. And what I'd simply do is just click on the 3 dots, copy to clipboard, come back to private comments and paste it in. And you can just customize as you want to. And as soon as you're ready, just click post. And that will go directly to the student. So you can see just how quick that makes marking. And if I'm like any of you guys are teachers, we all hate marking. It takes so long. So any way to make that quicker, I'll be open to. And if you've got any ideas, please share them with me. So that's the quick feedback thing. And just one of the last things here, we've got a Google Meet link. And I know this is something that a lot of you guys have previously mentioned in the run-up to a lot of these sessions with us, is having Google Meet in your Google Classroom. And I'm just going to show you how that works. So we're going to go back to Google Classroom and go back into our EdTech classroom thing here. So as a teacher, we'll see we have a generate meet link in this top banner here. So you'll see it, see it at the top here. There's also another place you can find it in your settings, and you can find that by going to your little settings cog up here in the top right and scrolling down just a little bit, and you'll see Google Meet is now integrated with Classroom. This is a fairly new feature, but one that's really welcomed by all of us here, especially in the AET, but I know across a lot of schools in the EdTech demonstrator program. So really, really neat tool this, I think. Now, if you haven't used it before, it will ask you to generate a Meet link. And so what it will do is it will create a unique link to this exact Google Classroom. And you'll see there it says visible to students. You can toggle that on and off. So depending how your domain or your account is set up at school, students may be able to join this when you're not in there. So what I'd recommend above everything is only turn this on when you're going to go in there, just before you go in, and make sure all students are out before you leave, and then turn this visibility off. And 9 times out of 10 that will solve the issues. But if it's set up that students can join, otherwise you may need to get your IT admin to have a look at changing that in the admin console. But what we'll do is we'll turn that on and click this big blue save button. To which point you'll now see the Meet link has that unique code in the top here. And that acts as a hyperlink, so I can just hover over it and click it. It will take me directly to that unique Google Meet. And the best bit about it is students will also be able to see me at the same time, or be able to, sorry, not see me, I just saw myself on camera there. The students will be able to join that same Meet link by clicking on that, clicking the link in their Google Classroom as well. So you don't need to worry about students needing a different link. It all appears inside your Google Classroom banner here. As I say, once you're done, just make sure you go back and turn that off, because depending on the way it's set up, the worst thing is having students in an unmanned, unsupervised space. In effect, you don't know what could be happening. So just be a little bit cautious of that, and make sure you turn it off when you leave as well. Okay, so we're just coming up to time now, so I'm aware I want to get some questions in, and there's some more stuff on this slide, but I will pop that in the chat at the end. But it's just taking you through some more really cool examples of how you can use these features in Google Classroom. And just one last thing I want to show you, not that one, I want to show you this Bitmoji banner, because this is a training I've done for my trust, so the AET, or Academies Enterprise Trust, and it went down really well actually, and people really liked it. So I just want to share with you guys the positivity and the really cool stuff you can do here. So what I've done is I've actually linked the template in the presentation here, so you don't need to worry about making new sizes and getting all the sizes right. There's a template there for you to use, already, so you don't need to worry about that. But what's really cool is, especially if you're going into during this time, especially if we've had new students join our classes, or if you're going to be virtual next year, or a hybrid model, whatever you may be doing in your schools or sort of trusts. Bitmoji Banners is a great way to personalise your classroom, and especially if you are remote and not meeting those year 7s for the first time. This is a great way to show your personality as an educator. Show who you are, because they won't. If we do have to go virtual at the start of September, which I'm hoping we don't, but if we do, this is the only way we're going to be able to show us as teachers to our new students. So it's a really, really personal thing, I think. So what we'll do is we'll very, very quickly make one together. So once you get this presentation, you can click on that link there, and it'll ask you to make a copy. Now, I can't take credit for this. This was one of my, someone I talked to called Alice Keeler, and she's a fantastic Google trainer and innovator. So she's really good, and she made this template for us. So I won't take credit for that. So thanks, Alice. So on here, you'll get a very blank background of this, and this is set up for your Google Classroom. And there's some really cool things you can do here. I don't want to take up too much time, but you can change the background colors. You can drop your Bitmojis in there if you've got Bitmoji, the extension installed, which I have here. So I'll just open that up and drag my Bitmoji in. So I'm just going to put in here. I like this one. I'm going to go Genius. That's what I'm going to call myself today. Genius. Sure, the people in the background are sitting there smiling and laughing at me, but that's fine. So I've just put that in, Genius, and you can put as many layers in as you want. Some sofas if you want, and some really cool. Make it look like your classroom if you want to. You can add as many things as you want here. But once you've got it as you want it, you can file, download as a PNG or JPEG if you want to. Download that, and it will load straight into your computer down here if you're using Chrome. And the best bit is, not on this window apparently. Best bit is you can go into your Google Classroom and it will ask you to select a theme here, which you can select from some of the ones Google Classroom have got. And don't get me wrong, they are good. There's some really cool ones in here, which are split up by different subjects and other sort of stuff. But me being me, I'm very OCD. I like to personalize and play with things in effect. Click buttons is what I like to do. I'll click upload photo here. And what I'll do is I'll select that from my computer. So I've found that classroom banner at the top there. Upload it. Make it so it's, drag these corners out so it's the right size. Oh, there we go. And select the class theme. What I'll do is take a few seconds. But you can see now I have that personal banner on the top. Now, before you say it, it does go a little bit dark, I know. But there's nothing, we can't change that. It's for legibility reasons. So it's worth noting, if you're going to create your own banner, try and use light colors, because Google will automatically put that dark filter over the top of it. So just something to bear in mind there. And the very last thing before questions is the support feature and requesting features. So this is something that a lot of people don't share, I think, or people often forget when doing these trainings, is you guys are the voice. You guys are the people using this program, and you have the power to change it in ways that will benefit you and other educators in the world. So what you can do in all Google platforms, not just Google Classroom, across Google Drive, Docs, Mail, all that sort of cool stuff as well. Somewhere on the page, you'll notice you have a little question mark like this. Often, we don't look at it, we don't see it because it's quite small. But you can click on that and you can report an issue or request a feature. So you can actually go on here and say, I'd love to see, for example, I'd love to not have that dark filter over the top of my banner. And you can, you can put in all your information here, include a screenshot if you want to, and send it across to Google. And as you see there, it'll pull in my screenshot there. And the thing I want to stress here is that Google really do read this. They really do take into consideration what you guys are asking them, and that's evident with things they've done over this COVID-19 pandemic. Things that we've asked for in Google Meet, for example, there's been a huge overhaul on Google Meet with the fantastic features we've had put in over COVID, because a lot of people are submitting this feedback. So the more people submit a certain feature, the higher up it goes in their priority list. So if you want to see a feature, get all your staff to submit this request feature, and you'll more likely come in the next update. So it's really important to share that and to look at things that you might want in Classroom, because Google really are working hard to make it a platform for you and us as educators. It's not for them. It's not even really for us. It's for our students. It's making it the best platform we can to give them the best chance at education. So that's really what I wanted to go through today. And I know we've got some really great questions in the chat. So I'm just going to try and scroll up to find some of these. So I know I've got some in the chat here. So how many students can be in one class? Really great question, actually. So in total is 1,000 people. So that can be both of students and teachers. So you can have a mix of those, but it is worth noting you can only have 20 teachers in your Google Classroom. So whether that be co-teachers, TAs, etc. Now on that point, it's that teachers, other teachers, if you're doing a staff training one, for example, you can invite teachers as students as well to your classroom, and they get a slightly different view. The only thing they can't do that you can do is add content in and see the marks book. So what I'll do is actually, I'll show you that view actually as a student, just so you can see how it looks. So we can see in here, I've got marks available, and I can go into Classwork and create things, add people in on my people page. So I'm going to go into the student account and just show you how it's different, just so you can see the reason you can have teachers in for staff training and stuff like that as well. So I'll just open this up and go to Classroom. And you can see I use the Omnibox classroom.google.com there. In that Omnibox, really quick, I typed in 3 letters and it come up. So that's really good. And you see that I've got the invitation now to join this Google Classroom as a student. So I'll click on join there. Actually, we use the same classroom to show you. So I'll join that. And once I'm in as a student, this is my student view. You notice I don't get that marks book at the top. And also when I go to Classwork, I don't have that create button. I can only see content. So you can have 980 students in effect, and they can be teachers. They don't have to be physical students. So it is worth noting 980 students and 20 teachers. All right. So hopefully that will answer your question there. Just look at the second one down. We've got things like, do our pupils need Google accounts to access Classroom? In simple terms, yes, they will. They'll need to use a school Google account, as most schools set up Google Classroom with those. Well, they set them up so it's only accessible within your domain or your sort of your email suffix, as it were. But it is worth noting if if you're a primary school, for example, and don't want students to have access to emails, you might create them an email, but you don't want them to be sending emails to each other and teachers and to whoever else these lovely children find on the internet. You can turn Gmail off in the admin console. So your admin or IT lead would need to do that. You can turn it off and still use Classroom. So it's really cool that you can have a Google email but not have the email, if that makes sense. You can still use Classroom without that feature. And we've got a few more here. So is there a way to schedule an assignment to automatically get deleted from the stream on a certain date or time? Short answer, no. You probably need to go in and manually delete those, and I'll show you how to do that when I go back to this. I'll go back to that account now. So if I've put something in here in the classwork or the stream, it works in the same way. I've put something in that I no longer want. I'll go back to my little menu here, so the meatball menu, because I'm food. I click on that and I have the option to edit, delete, copy link, or move down. So this, you can delete it directly from here manually, but it doesn't delete on its own. It keeps all these resources for students to use. You might want to create, for example, maybe a topic for archive, lessons or lessons from X half term. You drag and drop them around in there. And just while I'm on this point, we mentioned earlier about drag and dropping and moving things down. So there's always more than one way to do things in Google. You can go to your menu and move down. So notice at the moment, Music of China's at the top. If I click move down, it will drop underneath. But what I could do is I could actually just drag it up and round. So you can see there's two different ways of doing things there. And I think, although it doesn't relate exactly to that point, I just thought as it was on that menu, I thought I'd show you it as we were there. Okay. And I'm just seeing if there's any more on here. So I think that's all our questions, isn't it, on there, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these slides, we're not going to put them in the chat, sorry, I made a little bit of an error there. We're going to put them on the EdTech demonstrator site. So speak to your EdTech demo lead for this link. They'll be able to give it to you. So we'll link this video that they're streaming today, plus the my presentation we're looking at earlier. So there is a few things we didn't go through in there I'm aware of, but you can read through the instructions and feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at the bottom here, so @trainingwithbm, and make sure to follow the innovators as well, because none of this stuff would be possible without the help of the amazing people we've got in the background, so Richard, David, Joe, and all the fantastic people we've got working with us. So make sure you follow us and get in contact. If you need support with something, just let us know. We're happy to help anytime. So drop us a message, and on that note, peace out.